Let's continue to get reaction. Joined now by Black Business Council CEO Kganki Matabane, who is eager to give us his reaction. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time this evening. Well, the president, by his own admission, this particular address not really full of details as far as specifics, measurable objectives, and the roadmap that will be followed to achieve these particular things, but giving us broad strokes of what the cabinet Lekgotla would have agreed on. There'll be another iteration of the medium-term plans, which will come at a later stage. But what is key, I think, even from past conversations with yourself, is that this government of national unity, one, is going to continue on the roadmap of the National Development Plan 2030 goals. Whether some of them they've missed or not, it's a conversation that we can have. But two, inclusive growth policies like black economic empowerment, like employment equity, are going to continue, even in this government of national unity. Let's start there, and then we'll of course touch on the other reforms that the president has touched on.
Thank you very much, Thabo, and good evening to the viewers of Newzroom Afrika, and thank you very much for having us. The speech was great. I think the president was able to touch on very important issues that affect the majority. We in particular are impressed that they're going to focus on three strategic pillars, which you touched on one of them, which is the economic inclusion. And we really hope that it's not only going to be talk. All those things that the president spoke about are going to be implemented because, as you may have heard, some of these things that we spoke about, or that the president spoke about, we've heard we're not hearing them for the first time. You know, we had many times, many years ago, the talk was about beneficiation, yeah. And what you have to ask yourself, what happened?
Yeah.
What is new? We've been hearing about the capable state for the past 5 years, 6 years, and the question is that what stops government from doing all these things? Employment equity is there, the broad-based plan economic empowerment is there, but they've not been implemented. Even government departments themselves, for example, have not been reporting to the BE Commission on what they are doing on economic transformation. So we like what we're hearing, and we will give the president and the team 6 months to see if what he's talking about is implemented. Yeah. We're happy with the minister that he has appointed for the DTIC, Minister Pakstau, and we were confident that he'll do the right thing, because one thing that has not been done in the past, the previous minister did not appoint the DG for 3 years. The boards of SOCs have expired. He's not appointing people. Almost everyone is acting there. So the first thing that at least we're happy with Minister Tau is he has indicated that he's going to fill those positions, because it's important to have physical people there. So the president spoke about...
As you put it, before you move on, I mean, at least the president admitting that in the last 15 years of the 30 years, right, there's been very little growth. In fact, he says the economy has barely grown, which, of course, is an indictment also in itself. The ANC has failed to grow the economy in 15 years. You mentioned this thing of beneficiation. Why must we believe that now the focus is going to yield results? I mean, he says, no, we're now going to focus, for example, on processing our own minerals so that we export finished products rather than raw material. What has been the stumbling block to doing that all along?
Yeah, I wouldn't know, but from a business point of view and practical point of view, you cannot reindustrialize or you cannot beneficiate without the electricity. And we haven't been having electricity for a long time. So you cannot expect any mining company to build a smelter or smelting capability in South Africa, because where are you going to get the energy from?
Yeah.
And you can't use renewable energy for smelting. It just won't work. You need you need base load to be able to do those things. So again, that's why we're saying we don't know what is going to change in terms of that, because we've heard about this since before.
Yeah.
But again, our issue is that talk is cheap. What is important is action. So we're going to be monitoring the president and the government for the next 6 months,
Yes.
and see what actually gets done.
Yeah.
Because we've got enough policies in South Africa, we've got enough plans, we've got all these different policy positions and regulations. The biggest problem we're having in South Africa is actually executing what we have. And we're not going to execute or implement through speeches. You have to execute and implement through holding people to account. If you've got a minister who fails to appoint the DG for 3 years and you keep that minister there, what message are you sending? You are basically saying to the others, you can do as you wish and nothing is going to happen to you. So it's important that those people who are supposed to be doing their job on behalf of the president, if they are not performing, he needs to fire them. Because if you don't fire one, number two is going to say, but why are you on my case? Because we've left that other person. So the Department of Monitoring should actually be strengthened and become almost like a super ministry where people will go there and account. But unfortunately, we haven't seen the Department of Monitoring doing any job in terms of holding people to account. So if you don't hold anyone to account, like in any company, no one is going to perform. So for us, we are saying the plan is good. We're talking about the land reform, talking about maintenance.
Yes.
We know a lot of our roads are in a mess, but people are there, they are getting paid on a daily basis, but they're not being held accountable. So for us, I think implementation, holding people to account, performance management, consequence management will be the things that are going to make sure that whatever the president is talking about is going to happen.
Yeah.
And the president
consequence management, speaking of which, I mean, we had this conversation before around red tape, and then there's a chap that was brought in to say, no, this is going to be the guy who's going to take care of getting rid of red tape. Let's talk about that accountability. The president today is saying we have now directed every department within public entities and everywhere to reduce undue regulatory burdens that hold back business from creating jobs. So it's saying, again, we're going to reduce red tape. But nobody's held accountable for 5 years where you said you were going to put a guy there to do exactly that.
Yeah, we have met with him. His name is Sipho Nkosi. We've met with him. But unfortunately, he does not have powers. You remember, to be able to hold people accountable, they must be reporting to you. You must be able to have some power over them. Unfortunately, Sipho cannot even call a DG to account, because DGs report to ministers. Ministers report to the president. So for us, we just need to caution the president. When you start task teams or committees or all those things, you must give them the necessary power so that they can do their job. The red tape team, unfortunately, has got no power. It can't do anything. And I think those are the type of things that the president needs to avoid. And as the president is basically on his last term, it's very, very important that he should be asking himself, what is the legacy that I'm going to leave? How do I want to be remembered as a president of South Africa? Do I want to be remembered as the president who presided over the highest unemployment? Or do I want to be remembered as the president who moved the country from less than 1% growth to 6%? And if that's what he wants to be remembered as, he needs to start putting things in place that will take us there. You spoke about the National Development Plan at the beginning. The National Development Plan is very clear that we need to support small business. You don't support small business through slogans. You support small business through providing them with funding, providing them with procurement opportunities. The president now is sitting with the public procurement bill that needs to be signed, because once the bill is signed, it will allow small business and black business and women-owned business, youth-owned business to be given opportunities by the state. So you don't just talk about things. You must also, from an action point of view, you must be seen to be enabling such things. The NEF has not been recapitalized, and that's the only institution that was formed post 1994 specifically to fund black business. It has not been recapitalized for forever. So for us, again, action speaks louder than words. We can have these nice speeches all the time, but let's make sure that we implement. If people are not implementing, let's deal with them.
Yeah.
The municipalities are not functioning because there are people they were sitting there, but they're not fired.
Right.
So consequence management for us is, if someone says I'm going to do A, they don't do A, their supervisors or their bosses must be able to deal with them and hold them to account.
So you've already mentioned that there's no massive industrialization that's going to happen, especially in the mining sector, if you want to build smelters and so on and so forth without energy, right? So, and that energy is not going to come from renewable sources. So are you blowing hot air on this? South Africa is undergoing a renewable energy revolution that is expected to be the most significant driver of growth and job creation in the next decade and beyond.
Renewable energy has got its own place as a cherry on top. But before you have a cherry on top, you must have the cake ready. You can't have a cherry on top without the cake. The cake is base load electricity. And then hence we were congratulating ESCOM leadership, the new ESCOM leadership, starting from the chairperson and the executives. They've done a very, very sterling job by making sure that they fix ESCOM. And I think that's what we need. You need a capable people to be appointed to positions, but be given space. And if they don't do their job, then you have to deal with them. So when you look at, for example, the renewable energy, we were supposed to have utilized that to industrialize, to make sure that all these solar panels that we have in South Africa are manufactured in South Africa. But unfortunately, that has not been happening. There was even a manufacturing company in South Africa that closed down because it was not supported. Instead, we were exporting from other countries, China, Germany, and so on. So again, we should not talk left and then turn right. When we say we're going to the left, let's all go to the left through action and word. But if we only go through word, but the action does something else, we're not going to get where we want to get.
Kganki Matabane, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on, as CEO of the Black Business Council, reacting to the OPA, the opening of Parliament address.